In this video, I'm going to show you an example of the failover failback process using IBM Copy Services Manager and DS8000. I want to show you exactly why IBM Copy Services Manager will be useful in your environment and why it will save you a lot of money and time. So I'm going to log into IBM Copy Services Manager. I already have a session running. See it green, so I'm going to go into that. What I'm showing you today is a DS8000 Global Mirror practice session. In particular, Global Mirror for DS8000 has a number of steps, and I'll show you how to fail over that relationship, how you can restart that, and or reverse the direction on the session. And all the steps I'll try to talk about underneath what we do when we do the recovery. So the session is in a prepared state. That means all the consistency groups are being formed. Here you can see in the table we have about a 1 second data exposure. So we're forming consistency groups on average of 1 second per time interval we query. Dig down deeper if you want to. See the data exposure on a 15-minute or 24-hour graph. But say now you want to do an actual planned failover. All you would do is, first, you got to do suspend the consistency group formation. So you drop into the commands, issue a suspend command. This prompts you, sure you want to suspend? Yes. And now underneath the covers, see the Copy Services Manager is issuing the pause command to the global master, stopping that consistency group formation, as well as stopping the copy of those global copy pairs. So right away you see we go into suspended state. The dynamic picture reflects that suspended state, no longer copying, and there's no H1I2 global copy pairs copy. Next, I do the recover command. So what the recover command is going to do is make sure everything's consistent on the remote site and make those targets now writable. So I'm going to issue a recover. It's going to show you a little dynamic picture of what it's going to look like. Those H2 volumes are the ones that will be attached to your host and what you can IPL off of. So I'm going to say yes. So under the covers, what this is doing is a number of steps you can see on the right here. So for each of the global copy relationships, we got to do a failover. So that's shown by that arrow that you just see, that double arrow pointing back at each other. Then under the covers, if positive consistency is not on the hardware, or is not supported on the version of microcode, then we will have to go through what we call the recover actions on the global mirror session itself. So those entail are doing commit revert logic. So we have to look at each of the individual flash copies, determine if the last consistency group finished forming or not, and then complete if it's not. And then do the fast reverse restore, which gets all the data from J2 up back to I2, so that I2 is now a consistent point in time of data. Once that is done, we have to query, wait for all the fast reverse restores to complete. So the command itself is the hardware is not complete with fast reverse restore. As soon as the command comes back saying it's successful, you actually have to query and wait for those relationships to complete. Then once they're complete, we will reflash the I2 to J2, give you a consistent copy, followed by a flash of the I2 up to the H2 volumes. So now after that last flash of I2 to H2 is complete, we have that same consistent copy of data on the H2 volumes. We go into a target available state, thus indicating to you that you can now IPL off those H2 volumes if you so choose. So as you can see, it took me longer to explain it than what it did to actually issue the command. It was a simple recover command, simple response to the prompt, and we went to the target available state. From here, I have a couple choices now. Say this was just a test of a recover. I could actually, if I pull down the drop menu, you'll see that I can start in the original direction again. So if I did the start H1, H2, you'll see that the arrow in the dynamic picture points from site 1 going to site 2, so it's restarting everything in that original direction. However, if this was an actual site switch, or perhaps it was you did the recover after a unplanned suspension, the session was suspended as unplanned, had a real disaster, have to make the site switch, that's when you can do the enable copy to site command. So what this does is confirms that we've actually switched the production over to the site 2. Now I'm saying that, hey, it's okay to take what's on H2 and overwrite it with what's on H1. I mean, take what's on H2 and overwrite H1 with that data. So now I'm going to issue that start H2 H1 command, and this gives you a warning prompt, and now it's doing the failback so that your data on H2 is now being global copied back to H1. Now, once you're in this mode, you're in a global copy mode. It's not DR capable. It's mostly for migration. If you want to go back into global mirror mode, you actually need journal volumes at that first site. There's ways we can have Copy Services Manager. You can work with it to create another session that will get global mirror run back the other direction. But hopefully, you see with a few simple clicks, you've basically done the failover, you've done the failback. Whereas if you tried to script any of this, you'd be doing a large number of steps and a large number of scripts where, if you add to your environment, add volumes to your environment, remove volumes from your environment, you're going to be having to update each of those scripts each time and making sure that everything's consistent. Whereas all you have to do is add them to the Copy Services Manager session. We take care of the rest. In addition, there is logic that you'd have to put in your scripting. It's not just a matter of issuing one command after another. To make that faster, the global mirror recover flash copy logic, commit revert logic, you would actually have to do some queries to the flash copy relationships, look at the output, and script some sort of logic that would look at that output and respond to it, issuing another set of scripts depending on what that result was. So very quick. We try to make it as simple as possible, very intuitive, but yet put up warning prompts to prevent you from accidentally switching directions or doing things that you do not want to. So I'm going to go ahead and suspend again. So full failback. So this issue the suspend command. What we're doing now, because we're global copy, is we moved everything. In the normal case, because it's a migration type solution here, going back from site 2 to site 1, we would halt production on your site 2. Issue the suspend command. We wait for everything to drain, do the suspend. Now H1 should be consistent, and we issue the recover again. Now it shows you this failover relationship in the dynamic prompt here. We issue the recover, and once again you're in target available. Now with that H1 being your active host, and you're able to IPL off of H1. I'm going to enable copy to site 2 now, indicating that yes, my production has moved back to H1, followed by a start H1 H2 command. And now we're restarting global mirror back in that original direction after having recovered to site 2. This is getting all the global copy set up again, doing all the master configuration, making sure that we have the master, all the components on the LSSs in order to form consistency groups, and then we start that master to start the consistency group creation. We do have detailed status, so you can see what's going on. We're starting that master right now, and now we're back in the prepared state, and we can start tracking the global mirror, looking at the data exposure. When you're up and running H1, the DR capable, consistency groups are formed, etc. Hope that helped. Hope that showed you how the recover command provides in Copy Services Manager a very quick way to do the failover, and then the restart and failback in the opposite direction or in the original direction. But with Copy Services Manager, we take the ease out of you of having to maintain a lot of complicated scripting.